Okay, we talked in our last video about some very simple ways to decrease the restriction through the front arm line of the latissimus and the pectoralis muscle and create real estate in that pec minor muscle. So once you feel good about being in a nice neutral position, then it's time to strengthen. We need to remember that if we strengthen outside of a neutral position, then it's really hard to activate the right muscles. The muscles we're really going to focus on in swimmer's shoulder or shoulder impingement are the serratus anterior, the lower trap, and then some rotator cuff care. So I'm going to start with the same position that we did for our restriction exercises. We're going to come back, we're going to get a nice stretch through that lat, and then we can lift off the arm. This strengthening exercise really focuses on the lower trap, and it's not an easy exercise. As you come in and out of this, the pressure down through the bar to keep, as you can see, my shoulder blades nice and wide, focuses on the serratus anterior. This then on the lower trap. Pressing down to keep my shoulder blades wide, activate the stabilizers of my shoulder girdle in order to have that nice stable starting position for the lower trap exercise. You can do this with both arms, with a bar and a lift off from the wall. The most important thing here though is to keep the rib cage stable using the core muscles to keep the rib cage over the pelvis. You can do it on the floor as well, and that's kind of helpful because it keeps the rib cage down for you. Starting here, if you press into the floor, that will immediately activate some scapular stabilizer muscles, including the serratus anterior. I'm pressing through the floor as I come up over my head, and then the lift off. Focus is more on lower trap. The floor then is keeping my rib cage down. And under control. So those are some great serratus anterior, lower trap, rhomboid. It all kind of balances the whole shoulder girdle. When we think about the glenohumeral joint then, the rotator cuff is the group of muscles that basically holds the ball and socket joint together of the shoulder joint, almost like the eyeball muscles of your eye hold your eye in the socket. The rotator cuff holds the glenohumeral joint in the socket. I like to use, again, the spacers that we talked about for the postural correction during this exercise so that you can keep the whole shoulder girdle in a nice wide, stable position in order to focus on the rotator cuff. You've all seen these, keeping the elbow at 90 and just focusing on the rotation of the glenohumeral joint. I really think the spacers are handy because they keep, again, you can probably see in the mirror, my shoulders nice and wide and stable, and that scapula in a nice neutral position. And you'll feel it, it really focuses on the rotator cuff muscles themselves